What up, guys? It's a Total Wars Master here doing another Napoleon Total War online battle. Today we're again on the grassy flatlands. Rules are 5 lights, 0 art. And that's really where we are. I'm a Prussian player, got a militia, 5 lights, 3 line behind them. Each flank I have 2 musketeers and a foot guard. And I have 2 lancers, 1 on each side. A Brandenburg Ulan on my right, and a Tau Crazy on my left. My opponent is playing Denmark. He has more cavalry than me. But to first go off my basic intuitions when this battle starts, he has rifles. Because we can see the number of units really isn't adding up. There's no experience on any of them to like attribute for a big cost. Regular general, only one of them's a lifeguard. But to go through his army, he has 2 line infantry on each side, with 2 heavy cavalry being heavy dragoons on his right and a light dragoon, of which now we're seeing his rifles pop up. But on his left, he also has a light dragoon, a lifeguard of horse, and a heavy dragoon. His middle has 4 line infantry and 3 sharpshooters. But so for my army, I'm very light infantry heavy in my center. I don't want it on my flanks. I have a very condensed formation. But as he moves, we're starting to see he has 1 sharpshooter on each flank. So while initially I'm moving up very slowly, almost leisurely, if you will, I begin to see my only opportunity to win this battle really is to use my light advantage in the center and to try and use my line advantage on the flanks. So I'll go about where I was during this battle. So what's good for me right here is I have an elite which can inspire my men on both flanks, as well as I have lancers. He has more cavalry, but my lancers can at least take out one of his cavalry with them, or at least usually. Well, a negative though is I'm at a range disadvantage everywhere, but this is especially bad on the flanks because I don't have any light infantry to try and counteract that. But I'm going to move up, good speed. I take some shots, but that's fine. I'm trying to get return fire upon the Denmark sharpshooters. I want to try and deal with them as fast as I can. On these flanks, I'm pulling back. I want to be able to engage at a good position for me. I have militia getting shot by my own men, but they are being a good meat shield. And as you can see, I'm doing very good damage. I've broken a sharpshooter unit. He brings up a cavalry unit. I think he was going to possibly charge them, but either way he doesn't, so I just leave my men there. I don't want my men to get shot by his line infantry though, so I'm going to do a general withdrawal. Pull back my line behind. I'm going to try and kite him now. Even though he has the sharpshooters, which gives him a range advantage, they aren't really that big of a threat. Prussian Fusiliers will outshoot them every single day of the week. But what I'm going to do here now is while he's busy worrying about his center, which I've just hit fairly hard, and while he sends in these light dragoons, I'm going to try and hit his. I'm going to move my left flank to engage his right flank. Try and get these light dragoons to rout. I form these mental square to make sure I don't get charged through. Over here you can see good damage. This line infantry isn't really firing, but I'm going to charge in my men anyways. I kind of want to deal with this flank so I can bring it to bear, because as soon as I can bring this flank to bear, I actually have a lot more. We see the sharpshooters break over there. The line infantry gets hit hard also. And while he sends in cavalry to support them now, it's a little too late really. I'm unable to get these light dragoons to break, but they don't carry on through. I still have nearly 2 full units of Prussian Fusiliers. I'm able to use my Lancers over here to break a Dragoon unit, while his light Dragoon unit falls under heavy pressure. I form a preemptive square. His sharpshooters are likely shooting his own men in the back largely, while also taking heavy fire from my lights. And I'm going to pull back again and send my militia, which came back, out in front. I get these light dragoons to break. I'm going to turn my Tau Crazies to attack his dragoons. But now he's also pushing up this flank, but I'm not going to engage that. I don't need to engage that. I'm doing well. If this is just caught over here watching my men, then that's perfectly fine for me. I'm bringing these men quickly to try and bear on his flank, which he really does not have any reserves to try and deal with at all. I have my men face rear, and these light dragoons, I'll give them, they are some stubborn men. They do good damage on my musketeers, but now I am bearing on his flank. A couple large hits from my light infantry, and I'm going to pull back again. He can't sustain the pressure because he doesn't have the light infantry that can keep up the pressure.
Our men are running, sir.
My Lancers break over here, but they did their job. They've kept that cavalry out of the fight for a long time. So far on this flank, what you'll see my problem is they're fairly far back compared to my lines over here. His light dragoon unit has came back, but they're fairly far away from the action, which is to my benefit. What I'm going to try and do now is I'm going to move up to engage. He's trying to reshift these men over here to my flank, but I'm not going to let that happen. I'm going to keep bearing down on him, and I'm not going to give him time to breathe. Even though he's pulling back his line, that really doesn't do too much to me, actually. While he does still enjoy a fairly strong cavalry advantage, he has these 2 units over here, which one is a Life Guard of Horse. He has the dragoons over here. I form these men square, which is both able to then shoot the sharpshooters as a result, and able to shoot these light dragoons into absolutely nothing. So one important thing over here is I'm seeing these dragoons coming, facing my men to rear, which means as these dragoons begin to enter my area which I can fire, that's exactly what I'm going to do. Which itself does fairly good damage. It's unable to break them, but you combine that with a quick square, and that's solid. Right now, his rifles, he's not pulling them back enough. He's not trying to kite me, and really, they just lack the sustained firepower that you need to take on some Prussian Fusiliers. Because even though he's taking up a greater area, he can't even use that for an advantage because I keep pushing him so hard on them. I'm going to reform a longer line. I have a Brandenburg Ulan unit there, a Lancer unit here. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to keep pushing, because right now I have a line advantage over here. A foot guard along with 2 musketeers will outshoot 2 line and a sharpshooter. These rifle units are taking extremely heavy casualties. He moves his sharpshooters to try and meet me, which I get this sharpshooter to break, and he's moving his cavalry all around. He actually, I don't know if he did rally. I thought I saw it for a second. But what I'm able to do is I'm going to keep apply pressure. I'm going to keep pushing him, because right now me pushing him is the best thing I can be doing. I think about charging his line, but they keep pulling back. It's not worth it. My cavalry will be more of better use against this heavy cavalry over here. But once again, we see that my lights get a good volley off onto the sharpshooters. The reload is far too long for them to be of help when they're coming under so much fire continuously. You hear the charge of the dragoons and the lifeguard. I'm going to use my lancers right back. Massive casualties upon the charge, as you'd expect lancers to do. Sadly, I wasn't able to get them to break, but I am able to charge into this line infantry, which also does huge damage for how large of a line infantry unit it was. That was extremely valuable for me. I want to try and charge his general. I keep attacking these sharpshooters, but sadly my men get caught in melee and I'm unable to micro them to the general. But that was good. If nothing else, it's buying me time. It broke that very good line unit with high casualties to boot. Going to advance over here. Try and bring more firepower to bear.
Our men are running, sir.
He's sending these dragoons around, but I really don't see them as that much of a threat. I have a clear line advantage over here. His sharpshooters are shooting at a musketeer unit that's relatively non-important now, because I have these two. I have this full health one, and these foot guards that are almost full. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to pull back my Prussian Fusiliers and form them into line, of which I'm going to double stack it into my musketeers. I want to charge my Brandenburg Uhlans against these dragoons. I want them gone. I really don't like having cavalry of my opponent behind me. Although I do see this light dragoons coming in. We'll move to meet that. And we can see the absolute devastation over here as I break what is basically one of the two linchpins, as his army is now falling more and more into tatters. I square my lifeguards, which he seems very concerned with. But I made sure to pull my men back so that precisely when this happens, I can just bring my men back out of square and move them to flank them. I send my Brandenburg Uhlans to charge this line infantry. I mean, they can't form square after all, so the amount of potential loss is fairly limited, but I decide not to. I realize they're not that much of a threat. I can save them for bigger and better things later. I break more infantry along the flank over here. And really now it's kind of all crumbling. These sharpshooters haven't been able to do enough. I have some fairly healthy lights all in all, considering how they've been at the front and foremost of the enemy. The general advance continues. Because now, while he really needs to be using more over here for any attempts, even though it's almost guaranteed futile at this point. But these lifeguard horse were not very active in the battle against me. Elite, expensive cavalry can be useful. I'm not a big fan of it personally. Like this lifeguard, if it just charged my foot guards, even if it doesn't get shot, these Uhlans will absolutely murder them. But it's too late, really. You have to use them early on. He does get lucky right here on this charge because my Uhlans lose a bunch of their charge bonus. But I realize this really isn't important. I'm losing one unit over here.
Glorious victory, sir.
He's losing everything over here. and now I can charge as general. I form a square. I mean, all it is a depleted line infantry unit, and this lifeguard horse, which his own men do huge casualties to shooting my musketeers. But my lancers get into combat with the general staff. But I do good damage to that general staff.
We have killed their general,
which
sir.
results
Now
in
they
the
must
general
break.
being killed. And then that's the end. But really, guys, we saw a lot of good things there. We saw the use of cavalry was not always on point by the Danish player. We saw rifles. Rifles have a lot of shortcomings, and especially on grassy flatlands. As I talked before, rifles can be useful, but they are a very niche application unit, in my opinion. And really, quite frankly, once again, we get back to winning the cavalry engagement and being aggressive. Being aggressive goes a long way, and especially with artillery, so make sure you guys try it out yourselves. We'll have a little last look at the units. You see Prussian Fusiliers, Foot Guards, Musketeers, Fusiliers. Overall, most everything did well. I mean, even the militia, they didn't get a lot of kills, but man, they took a lot of losses, and that's really what you want. But that's going to be it for this video, guys. Tell me about your opinions on this battle. Total Wars Master, out.